The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on optimizing project efficiency and collaboration using mobile and cloud solutions. My name is James Cook, and I'm a business solutions consultant for Nuforma. And today I'm kindly joined by Andrew Turner, who is a partner at Riley, or Henry Riley. Thank you, Andrew, for coming today.
No problem.
Okay, so I thought I'd just jump into the agenda. So for today's main topic, we're going to start by talking about the importance of remote accessibility of project information. We're then going to jump in and give an introduction to Nuforma, and then I'm going to hand over to Andrew, who's going to run through, talk about Henry Riley and Nuforma, how to use Nuforma, and around the digital workflows for maximising efficiency on the go. Then I'm going to jump into a product demo where I'm going to show a few of our mobile applications. And then at the end, we'll jump into a Q&A. Just for general housekeeping, during the webinar, if you have any questions, on the right-hand side in the webinar panel, there's a question section. Please post any questions you have into that area, and we'll answer those at the end of the webinar. Okay, so just to sort of give today's session in context around the importance of managing information remotely, we've kind of broken up the portions of how information can be shared. So I think in relation to Andrew, I think obviously you mentioned, I think site meetings, travelling, and a site would relate to yourself.
Yeah, that's right. We're not office-based, we're mobile people, so we need to be able to get our information wherever we are at any point in the day, really.
Perfect. And then obviously working from home, I think this really relies on our Nuforma cloud app. So that's really around how you can log on to our browser, access documents from the cloud, so you can actually take a Word document, for example, download that Word document, amend it, and then push that back into Nuforma Cloud. Okay, so
yeah, so just I was going to add, so on construction sites, we really find the benefit of using those photo capture apps. It's really important to us to get that information into our system as quickly as possible. And with client meetings, we often get asked for information out of the blue, and if we can get that really quickly, that's really appreciated by them and shows how, what sort of business we are. So it's really powerful for us.
Perfect. And travelling, I know you file emails when you're on the go.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, we're always working when we're travelling these days. So the ability to sort of file information and retrieve information, even if it's just on a half-hour train ride, can be really valuable in terms of getting yourself prepared and providing great service to your clients.
Perfect. And also you get the task app as well, so you can obviously read those photos you've captured previously. So all this absolutely helps you to work remotely. Okay, and we've kind of umbrella all these areas into creating efficiency behind that. So through Nuforma, you're able to work remotely, and obviously you're more efficient when you're out on the go, and obviously when you go to client meetings, if anything occurs, anyone reflects an email or a document, Andrew can obviously easily pull that up. So I'm going to jump into who is Nuforma. So Nuforma was formed around 2004, and we're soon approaching our 15th year anniversary. We're a global company, so our main locations are in, as you can see here, the 6 locations around the world. Our head office being in Manchester, New Hampshire, the east coast of America. We've got around sort of 1,600 customers, and we have a high retention rate of around 96% with our customers renewing annually. And we have an average customer tenure of around 6 years, which kind of fits in with Henry Riley as well. Nuforma by numbers, so just to give you a brief overview of Nuforma by numbers. So currently, Nuforma is used on 3 million projects. We're currently managing 6.6 petabytes of data, so that's quite a lot of information Nuforma is managing. We have around 39 of the top, or we do have 39 of the top 100 architectural firms, and 60% of the AJ top 100, and also 191 of the top 500 ENR firms as well. Okay, just to give you sort of context of a lot of our customers, so as you can see here, the centre point is Henry Riley. I'll give you a couple of seconds to get a quick look at all the other sort of logos we've got here. So you can see the likes of Atkins and Price & Wise, for example. And then I'm going to jump into Nuforma's ethos. So Nuforma really is a great tool for centralised information, because we find normally when we go into companies, a lot of companies have or people would retain their emails in their own inbox and then not shared across the project. So I know this is one of Andrew's main points of why they actually purchased Nuforma.
Yeah, absolutely. Email management was our entry into Nuforma. We were looking for a solution to better manage our emails, and for us, Nuforma came out on top about 5 or 6 years ago. and that's why we went with you guys, really.
That was the starting point, wasn't it?
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
Grew the formal knowledge and have applications from that.
Yeah, and I'll explain later on sort of how we develop from email management and onwards with other features.
Marvelous. And then obviously Nuforma is a central fuse of the project, so no matter where information resides on the project, we're able to find it. And just to give you an understanding of how Nuforma works, so Nuforma is an indexing tool. So we simply point Nuforma at the root project folder, and Nuforma will index all the data within that folder. So by that I mean file names, metadata, and actually the text within the file. So Nuforma uses character recognition technology to actually capture all that data. So if you run a search for Windows, for example, you're starting from the outset, but Nuforma is already capturing that data. And also, all information remains on your file servers, which is another great advantage.
Yeah, we really like the fact that all our information is in one of our servers, one of the offices, and the fact that Nuforma just overlays over the top of it. So in terms of being able to manage that existing data and accessing it, everyone found it fairly straightforward to transition from our old system into using Nuforma.
It doesn't change the way you work as well.
Absolutely.
So you carry on exactly as you work in Nuforma, has those extra tools on top to help you work efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then regarding user adoption, so you'll find that a lot of the tools in Nuforma are quite familiar to users, so that it doesn't scare users off. So the tools are very light touch, they're very easy to use, and obviously with adoption, it just eases people into transition to actually using Nuforma. We track common workflows, so by that we use tools like RFIs and send to people externally and also internally, and also for submissions as well. So we send information out to business, we capture the audit trail around who downloaded it, what files they've downloaded, and again, for external parties, we can actually capture the data behind that as well. So who has sent files to us, and obviously who has viewed those files as well. And now we're going to go into a quick introduction to Henry Riley. So Andrew, if you don't mind, I'll hand it
thanks,
to you.
James. Yeah, I won't be very long here. So we are a UK and international company. We've got offices in Australia and South Africa as well as the sort of 12 in the UK. We are predominantly a UK business. We're approaching to 130 years, so we have been around a while, but we still recognise the importance of change and embracing digital technology, which is why we're with Nuforma. And we work one of our clients for about 100 years, so we do have great relationships with
That's
people.
a long time,
yeah. We're obviously very proud of that, which is fantastic. Just moving on. So in terms of services, we are quantity surveying, project management and health and safety predominantly, which is quite different to a lot of people in the sort of digital space who come from more design background. We've tried to adopt these digital practices early on, and we found that very useful. Sector-wise, we're multiple sectors we highlight up there. I've personally worked on retail projects from sort of small fit-outs to large new build schemes. We also work on sort of healthcare schemes within a live environment, and the tools that Nuforma offer us allow us to work across all those different sectors, providing information. For us, more recently, our residential sector has grown significantly, but across all the sectors we work, they all need coordinated information available to us in the office and out of the office. And we've looked to Nuforma to provide that service to us, and so far it's been fantastic.
Oh, brilliant. That's a great overview, thank you. And then shall I say the next slide here around exactly what you use at?
Yeah, so as I alluded to, we're not designers, but we do still have a space in digital. So Nuforma provides us our document management and our email management, as well as a great coordinated approach. We also use a second piece of software in Costex because we're quantity surveyors. So that provides us with our 2D and 3D takeoff and our cost estimating. And they actually work really well together because we can issue our cost estimating information via Nuforma to our clients, which that works really nicely together. And then obviously sort of overlapping all of that is probably our sort of BIM approach, and we've taken a project management-led approach to that with the level 2 standards. We're very document and process focused in the BIM space, and again we have our 5D cost management service that supplements that. So that's kind of our digital angle within the business, within the industry.
And it's great because you're quite refined, so you're not using multiple applications, which we generally find in companies, so they tend to use probably 6 different applications for the same job, but it seems here you're quite, you've got a good understanding of how the company works and what applications work for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we don't really want to have loads of different software that everybody's got to learn. We want a couple of key bits of software that can do multiple things for us. So it keeps training simple, keeps learning simple, but actually we can still provide a great product to our clients using just a couple of pieces of software.
And that'll help user adoption, as we know, everybody that most people in the offices actually tend to use Nuforma on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we'll go on to how we use it in a minute, but things like email management and issuing large documents, Nuforma is everyone's go-to option, which is fantastic.
Nice, that's brilliant. All right, so This slide here is really just to give an overview of how Newformer works with certain apps. So you've got email management. Obviously, I know Andrew's got a good customer success story around how they initially went to use emails and how they broaden their scope of different applications Newformer that they're currently using now.
Yeah, so I think we've sort of mentioned a couple of times, the email management piece was how we found Newformer, and that's where we started with our colleagues when we introduced it into the business. So the ability to file your emails and find your emails quickly by project, that for us was our starting point, and it's really made a difference within our business. And we've got great success stories of how people have found information from years ago that perhaps they wouldn't have been able to because someone's left the business or they were off sick or whatever. And that ability to get those key emails quickly has been great for us, and that's where our journey started. But very quickly we realised that the document issuing via info exchange, so large documents, as project managers in particular, we're often issuing and managing information. So to be able to send that in a coordinated way and managing large files, the adoption on that piece came very quickly soon after the email management. And then subsequently to them, we've tried to introduce more standards within our business. So things like the capture app to take photos, project directory to manage our project teams, they're becoming default things within our business.
And it helps to centralise all that information.
Absolutely. The more we use it, the more synergies you get across the other pieces. And then our advanced users are really getting themselves into now the shared folders, tasks, document control and plans app. Those that embrace technology, they find that a little bit easier, and we've let them push on using as many of the advanced features as we can because they're getting benefits from it.
Yeah, and this is what I love about Henry Riley, is the fact that you use the plans app a little different to a lot of our customers. So we tend to find that the majority of architectural companies tend to use it for deliverable information, but you're using it for all types of documentation.
That's right. What we've really embraced with Newformer is that actually you've got some systems in place, but they're adaptable. So we realised early on that by using document control and logging all of our documents, our cost reports, maybe construction contracts, estimates, we can log those within document control, then push them to the plans app on our iPad, and we're walking around to our meetings, we're at the office with all the documents we want at the touch of a button.
Yeah.
We're no longer, I used to carry wads of paper with different cost reports and bits and pieces. That's now on my iPad and managed from a central position. Yeah. So the ability to use the document control and plans app has been great. But not only that, so with our mail app, for example, the mail app, we're now filing our emails on the go on our mail app within our phones, but also then retrieving them via the project email app as well from Newformer. So it works both from filing and finding information on the go. And I think we'll come on to the demonstration in a bit, that when we need to find that information, using the app is very straightforward from a search capability.
And that's great as well, to give you respect from your other peers, because obviously you can pull that information at any given time point. If something that comes in regarding an email or a document, you click a button and go, there you go.
100%, and I don't know why it is, but I always find as soon as somebody goes on holiday, it's their project or those emails that I need to find access to. I don't know, it was night follows day, that always seems to happen. So the ability to,
especially around Easter.
Yeah, we're in holiday season right now, it's a case in point. But yes, being able to search for and find that information at a touch of a button is second to none, really.
And the great thing is obviously it syncs into Newformer Project Centre, so obviously it's on the app, but you can synchronise information back into Newformer so you come back to the office. It's all there ready to go. Team as well. 100%.
And so for us, that's where email's really great. But as I mentioned a minute ago, the capture app is also providing us with a lot of great use. So we were finding people were saving photos on their photo streams on their phone, using cameras. They weren't then downloading them, or they're putting them somewhere random on a server. Getting everybody to try and use capture app, they're taking photos and they're immediately getting filed against the project. So when they've got a Wi-Fi connection or they're back in the office, it's going straight back against that project. Yeah. So immediately we're finding we're taking more photos and we're saving them in the correct place, so they become available straight away. Only last week we found one of our users had saved something like 5 gig of photos in a random location. About 5 or 6 years ago. Absolutely. Yeah. If we'd had Newformer back then, that wouldn't have happened. We'd have used the app and it would have been saved in the correct location. But we also like, and I find a lot of benefit in this personally, is being able to label those photos. So if I want to just say the location of it, or I want to put a next step against that photo, I can do that live as I'm walking around a construction site and then upload it back to the system later on and have a look at it. Too often in the past, I've taken, say, 20 photos. I've gone back and looked at them a week later because I haven't looked at them straight away, and I can't remember where that photo related to. Especially if you're doing a project with repeated floors. Like even last week we were doing a lift project. and every lobby looked exactly the same. If we weren't able to like label which floor we were looking at and the action around it, it does become very difficult.
And cumbersome,
yeah.
You look for them.
And you do leave it. You don't. You know, it's not like that's the first thing you do when you get back to the office. Is let me look at all those photos and remanage them. If I manage them as I take the photos, life becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, it was nice because we were with a customer recently, and they had an issue where they were going out on site and recording their notes on site and taking photos. So their notes, half of it was taken by memory, and half was written down with bullet points. And then they were uploading the photos to Google Drive. And automatically, you've got a disconnect between those two areas. So the data doesn't relate to the photos. Then when you go back, you've got to do another task and try to understand where those photos relate to, which part of the bullet points you listed down. Your form is going to do that all in one process. So you're not having to work in two different formats. It helps you centralize and organize yourself in a more streamlined process.
You're taking the information in real time. So your notes are, you know, as you're seeing it, you're writing it down.
Yeah.
And then when you go back to use that information, it's already coordinated. You know, and I think again that is the power of that is fantastic, and also the time it saves.
Precisely, yeah. And then I love the fact that you're using the Plans app as well, because you can obviously have your latest drawings on your Plans app.
So we alluded to a minute ago. So on the Plans app at any given time, I will have the latest estimate, a cost report. I even have a construction contract. I've been on a site in the last year or so where there was a query around some of the M&E drawings. And the action normally would have been, we'll all go back to the office, we'll all talk about it in half a week's time, and we may or may not resolve that problem. I was able to bring up the contract, go straight to the contract drawings, and we identified the key issue we were all talking about, and we all resolved the problem there and then. You know, and again, that saves so much time and aggravation down the line.
And the good thing is, I mean, because you can use the Capture app on top of the Plans app, so you could actually note the discussion, or you could actually use the Plans app when you're on site and take photos relating to that drawing plan. Dragging additional photos to that plan, and also write those capture notes effectively.
Well, exactly, to the point where we push it even further, and you know, we don't always do snagging on all projects depending on the complexity, but where we do, the actual snagging tools within that do exactly that. You know, so we've got our layout drawings, we're marking up, we're taking the photos of those snags, linking them to the exact location on the drawing, assigning it to the contractor or another sort of direct supplier if that's what it is. And again, we're coordinating the information there and then. And within 5 minutes of finishing that meeting, we can issue that report out to everybody, and everybody knows exactly what's going on. That's not a snagging list that comes out a week later after half the snags have already been dealt with. It's live information.
Yeah, and are these tools what the client demands from yourself? I mean, is it
well, absolutely
something you supply, or?
Yeah, well, we identified a need to have it, and you know, I wanted to become paperless, so these tools have enabled me to do it. On top of that, I do also use OneNote, say sort of notes. But that suite of information has enabled me to become paperless for 5 years. Yeah. Which is great.
Astonishing.
Yeah. And I only get paper if I go to a meeting and somebody gives me a sheet of paper, and then I've got to wonder what I've got to do with it. Yeah. But in answer to your question, that enables us. You know, clients do demand of us. They demand us to be managed and organised. We're project managers, we're quantity surveyors. That's what they want. And new former and the tools we just described enable us to do that.
Yeah, and that's very powerful when you go into any meetings with clients and consultants in general, or wherever you are. Yeah, that information is accessible easily as well.
Exactly. That's to them. That's our data. So we've got to look after that data and present it back in a coordinated way.
Yeah,
and that's what they expect of us.
And it's great because you use all these applications for what we call our traditional apps. So we have traditional apps is around finding emails and photos and plans, which we just spoke about there. We also have a cloud app where you can search on your project data within your file structure. You can file emails if you have an Office 365 account, and you can use action items from there as well. You can actually use action items from our current mobile apps as well. So Capture does allow you to apply what we call action items, actions around anything you see on site, and also snagging as well. I mean, we term the American term punch list, so that's the only.
Yes, we do punch lists as snagging, but absolutely, of course.
And everyone got adapted to that name over time quite easily.
Yeah. As soon as we realised what punch list meant, we were good to go.
We were good to go. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think in that case, I think it's probably worth me jumping on a demonstration to show everyone how kind of these tools that Andrew uses on a day-to-day basis work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully you'll be able to see us in a second. Okay, so it's going to pop in a second now. Sorry guys, just be 1 second. I had it a minute ago, it's just dropped out. So I have to reopen the application again. Okay. All right, so in a second now, you should hopefully be able to see my mobile device. Perfect, okay, apologies for that. Slight technical difficulties, but eventually got there in the end. Okay, so these are our apps here. So if I click on this option here, you can see that I've got a Project Teams, a Project Email, a Capture, Plans, and a Tasks app. And Andrew seems to use more or less all of these applications here. We also have a new form of cloud app, but I'm not going to touch on that app today. I'm really going to focus on Project Email, Capture, and Plans. So if I go into Project Email, and this will look familiar to Andrew, you can see here that straight away we list your projects in new format. Okay, so I can go at any given time, I can choose a project, so I can say the first one here, Alpine Grove Science Centre 31. I can go into that project, and I can simply just see all the emails that have been filed in new format. And this is given the date of everything that's been filed. So it'd be the latest that's been filed down to, you know, all the other emails have been filed at relevant time periods. So I think the first is I click on the very bottom here and go to all, that's going to show me every single email, okay, within my new format Project Centre that's been filed. So I mean, do you tend to go into here, Andrew, or do you tend to do this?
So I normally I'll be out and about, and I'll need to try and find an email at fairly short notice. So as you've just done there, I jump onto there. Normally what I do, I go straight to search, and I try and think of a keyword from within that email.
Okay.
The flip side to that is if I know it's an email that I regularly get, I need to access to, I do also use the sort of starred option to keep it offline. So I've got it at any one time.
Okay,
so normally,
you pin an email.
Yeah, so I pin an email, or I go to, they're kind of my two options. I sort of go to search or I go to pin, depending on what the request is, and I find what I want from there, really.
So these emails that we're seeing now, these are what you would see if you were obviously had a Wi-Fi connection using 4G. If I click on the pinned option, which is the bottom right option here, this will show me emails that I've pinned. So if I go to all here and go back, I'm going to open up an email, and within the email you should see that I have a pinned option here. If I click on that, that is now available for me offline. So then when I go back to pins, there you go, that email is sitting within my pin section.
I think that's really important, because a lot of, you know, as I said earlier, we're a nationwide business. I work a lot of my project in London. I've got great Wi-Fi, I've got great mobile connection all the time. Fantastic. But not everybody works in London. No, you know, and a lot of our sites can be a lot further afield, and they can be in areas where, you know, you don't have a great mobile reception.
Or remote location.
So if you know you're going, you know, and obviously you need to know beforehand, but if you know you're going to one of those locations, you know there's a likelihood, or you commonly ask for certain emails or certain content, you go through it, you just pin everything you need, let's say 3 or 4 emails, and then you've got that. So if you are in that then remote location, you can go back onto the app.
It's a nice safety net.
Yeah, it really is.
So hopefully you work remotely in a remote location. Yeah. And then if I go down to the bottom options here again, I can look at the To Me, which shows all the emails related to myself. And then if I want to sort of search emails by attachments, you can see I've got this paperclip icon down the bottom here as well, and I can find those emails. I want to quickly just show the search. So if I go to all, and this is what Andrew alluded to a second ago, so if I go to the search option at the very top, and I click on that text box there, I can type in the word concrete, for example. So I search in the word concrete, I can search on that, and it's going to find the content of the email and even the attachments, of course, and also any other sets of data that you can find. In Newformer, you can actually filter on different types of data, but Newformer's, I say it works a bit like Outlook, where you can search across all your, your data within the content of the email, but not only that, Newformer's going to search in the attachments. So if I click on this email, for example, you can see that it's found concrete in the subject. And also, if you look down here, you can see it's in the body of the email as well. So it's quite a powerful search tool for yourself to use on the site.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this isn't an app I would say I'd use daily, but every once a week, a couple of times a week, I get asked to find that email, and then just knowing how to navigate myself around exactly what you've just done there, James. Find exactly what I need, and then I can, you know, advise where I'm looking, whoever's asked me the question.
Perfect. Yeah. That's what they were built for.
Yeah.
So you're using the right way there, Andrew. Is there anything else you could think of in terms of email which you would use, or is it just really those?
It's normally those either random requests that you get, and like, as you said, you're not at your desk, around about, you've got a random request, and somebody else has got another deadline they're working to, and they really want to find that piece of information because they've either lost the email, didn't have it originally. They haven't got the attachment because they've not filed it down.
So
So our ability to go find that information for them, provide it to them when we're on the move is really great.
And centralised across all the project teams.
Absolutely.
All of that.
Yeah.
At a given time point. Okay, so I'm going to close down the email app. I'm going to go into Capture now. So if I click on type here, so when I'm in the Capture app, I get this dialog box straight away. So if I click on type, I can actually select the project first of all. So it's the Alpine Grove Science Centre.
I think you shouldn't underestimate that, as I alluded to earlier. What that means is when these photos, you're going to put them straight into that project.
Yeah.
The ability to move your photos straight into the correct project in a predefined location is really, really powerful. You know, rather than, as I said before, people leaving them on their phones, leaving them on their cameras, downloading them to a random bit of a server, or not downloading them at all.
Yeah.
We're getting rid of all of those problems and putting the information straight into our project that's then fully searchable once you've uploaded it.
Project context, because we normally find quite a lot of people have information inside different locations. So
Exactly.
we can bring it all together and everyone can view that.
Yeah.
So that's so powerful in a project.
Indeed.
Okay, so I'm going to show you now. So punch list, obviously the UK term would be snagging. So if I click on punch list now, I get a few options. So automatically, Newform will default itself to a draft state. I could choose another state in the workflow or status. Subject, so this would be obviously the subject of why you're taking the snag. With Newform, we can pre-populate a list if you prefer. So as you can see, I've got a list down here at the bottom. So I'm going to just say it's regarding roofs, for example. And in description here, I can actually type on a description, and then I can actually type in here as well. Another thing to note is that down the bottom, I have a little audio part here, so I can actually speak into that and actually record notes into that as well. Obviously, I haven't in this example. And then if I just apply a default description, so I'm going to say this option here, that's going to be applied to that. And then we can also pre-populate spaces, so room names and room numbers, which is obviously on site. It's very helpful to pre-populate that, and rather than having to type it in again, I can go into my space and I can select the room name, room number. So I might say it's this stair core here. I can save that, and then I can choose a location of where that's located. So in Newform, we've done it sort of as in north, east, south, west, but you could have more prevalent zonal location you could apply to this.
I think it depends on the size of the building or the project you're working on. You know, you'll know what different criteria you want to add, and that's what's great. Again, you just manipulate it to how you want to work.
Exactly that, yeah. I mean, do you pre-populate data before you go out on site, or
normally
to input it when you're on site?
Normally, I set it at the first meeting I do, so I'll populate it on the fly, and then I'll use those settings I've created thereafter. Yeah, absolutely. Because once they're there, I can then use them thereafter. And again, it means I'm being consistent when I'm capturing my information.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you've got that consistency, obviously, sometimes when you retype the same description or the same subject, then there's can be a bit disparity. If you've got those options readily available, then make sure life
absolutely
you're out on site. As part of the Capture app, I can actually assign the app to somebody in the project team. So I'm going to choose myself just as an example, add and close 31. And then down here, I can actually give the snag a due date, so someone to review this by a period of time. So I might say that in here, I can set a date. So rather than going back in time, I'm going to go forward and say that I can say that someone needs to work probably on the Easter Bank Holiday weekend. So I'll just choose the 26th. Is that the weekend? Or I think it's the Sunday.
That's fine.
See, I'm already there you go, 19th. That's the Easter Saturday. And you see it's an American date format here, but you can change this to UK. And then just down here, I've got some options to take a photo. So if I click on the photo option here, and maybe if Andrew could post me, that would be much appreciated. So here you go. Lovely, thank you. And I would save that photo. So that's now saved to the Capture app. Thank you very much, Andrew, that lovely photo. And then I can save that. So that's now saved. Now this is on my phone. So if I'm offline, I can do all these tasks offline, and this will be saved into this location here on the left-hand side. And then when I go back into a Wi-Fi connection, I can click on this up arrow here, and that's going to go back into Newform Project Centre back in the office.
What's nice about that is if you've taken a lot of photos and you're working on a slightly larger project, you want one of your colleagues back in the office to start working on some of that information.
Yeah.
You can tell it, find a cafe or Wi-Fi location, upload all that information, and then they can start putting either a report together for you, or start, if you put comments against some of those items, start working through some of those comments. It's, that coordinated approach again, is a thing we've used quite regularly with Newform.
Yeah, it's good for that engagement in your project team. So you're not having to email, doing additional information. That's all done in that one workflow.
Yeah, I mean, as well as you mentioned the snag in there, we capture a lot of our photos via field note. We find field notes a really great place for us to capture photos, because from field note you can create these nice site reports, and we sort of default to field note, and then once we get to the snagging stage, exactly as you've just shown, we'll capture snags in that way.
So you use the site visits for report function.
So absolutely,
the immediate report straight from there.
Yeah.
And then do you send it out to other members of the project team?
We can do. I mean, it depends. You've got to be careful, because it depends what your appointment is. As a quantity surveyor, if I had that hat on, I wouldn't be issuing site reports out, but I would still want to capture all my notes as field notes, because then they will just collate in the same place on the desktop application. But if I'm a project manager, I might want to write a report. So exactly as you said, I might then turn that into a site report from those photos.
And everyone can obviously view that report as well. So you've got that commonality between how that report is interpreted,
and the data's linked. So from that same photo, I might have created an action, and then it's all fully searchable. So when I search for it, I can see I created an action. I can see it was a site photo, and it's quite nice. All that information is joined up. I've taken one photo and I've done many things with it, and I quite like that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Very great use of that. I think I'm going to jump into Newform Project Sense actually, and I'm just going to show you where that capture I've just taken goes into. So again, I mean, just for ease, we have called the area punch list. If I scroll down here, it's punch list down here. So all of our field notes is captured down here. Site visits, as you just mentioned. We can create daily reports. I'm going to go into punch list. And I'm just going to go to the all option just to see the latest capture taken. So this is the one here. And then in a second, you should be able to see a lovely photo of Andrew. So when I click on this option here, the preview, there you go, thumbs up. I found that photo of Andrew. So I could actually amend this, add additional information, and I can report from this, put in the photos to the relevant data you can see here. So we have a lot of functionality in terms of, if you've got an idea of how you want the report to look, we can normally cater for that. I might leave that for a couple of seconds, that photo.
I'm happy for you to move on.
Thank you. So I think I'll go on to the Plans app now, but I think I'll go back into document control just to show you where the Plans app is looking at within Newform. So if I go back to the home page, and thank you, Andrew, again.
No problem.
I'm going to go back to the home page, and we're in document control. So this is where we centralize all our project files. So rather than having dated folders and current folders, all our issuable information goes in here with the latest version and previous versions as well. And as Andrew uses this, he actually pulls in all different types of documents, as he mentioned previously. Now documents in here, so there's a simple way of adding documents. So there's an option here where you can actually add different files, and you can pull in documents through here, and then they will show up within document control quickly. Now they're in document control, I'm going to go back into the Plans app. So I'm going to go back into my iPad here.
Just while I do that, James, what I would say, what's great about something like document control, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. So with our adoption, we weren't making people go straight there and start using it. We built that learning up from the emails, from the capture app, before we started introducing document control. And I think that's, again, where the system works well. You don't have to use all of it from day one. You build your learning as you go, and then when you get comfortable and confident, you
that's
then
when you go the broad approach like you're doing.
Those that want to do it then do start using document control, do start recording certain file types and information they want, and it becomes available to them.
I mean, I really admire the way that Henry Riley are using document control again, because it's quite unique, and obviously for yourself, it's giving that remote accessibility of all your documentation, and that's you not by yourself, but also I presume by a number of your colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely. So that by wider, it's not everyone within our business, but those that have got, for example, an iPad and that want to work in that way, they are embracing these tools. And I alluded again earlier, I now carry an iPad around with me in my bag where I used to carry like an inch thick wad of paper because I didn't know what I was going to get
or another
asked.
bag.
Yeah, sometimes another bag.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're going to get asked. You want that current cost report on you at all times. You might even want to make amendments to it. If I've got it on here, I've got it available to me. I can do what I need with it as and when.
Exactly. And you haven't got to worry about, maybe you've got 5 minutes to leave the office and you've got to print off 20 pages of a document. And
yeah.
Often I see it on the tube, people carrying wads of paper all the time. If they had something like, an app where they can have the latest documentation, it'd be a lot easier for them. So the plans app, this is looking at document control. So if I go into this project here, you can see what gets pulled in is the drawing number, or the document number, document name, the file size, and it's all centralized into this one location here. So on the right hand side, so on the left hand side here, you should see these download arrows next to each document. That means I can download them to my device. If I see an option where it hasn't got that down arrow, so this one here, A000, I can click on that, and that's already available on my mobile phone. This is when I'm offline as well. If I click on A001, I have to download this when I'm in a Wi-Fi location to access that file. So imagine before you go into a meeting, Andrew, or whenever you require this information, you've already got this information pre-downloaded.
And I think it's a really important point. We're, in the industry, we're all very busy and we're all kind of doing things a bit last minute.
Yeah.
I try to take the approach of, well, let's spend a bit of time before I leave the office preparing myself. Let's get information onto document control and onto my plans app.
Yeah.
Let's get my projects all set up correctly, because actually it's worth it. That 10-15 minutes before I leave the office, preparing myself enables me to then be better organised when I get to my meeting, when I get to site. I've got that information available to me, and it just you just feel like you're providing a better service, and it gives off a much better impression to
100%. Yeah. And to sort of jump on the phone and call this guy to email somebody else, and maybe at another site office, have a meeting with somebody in the office, the latest drawings, and you've got to ask them to download it. Or
the amount of times we're talking about a drawing, and it's like everyone's trying to remember off the top of their head, and I go, hang on, here's the drawing, let's zoom into the bit we're talking about, and we're all crowding around the iPad talking about the issue.
Yeah.
And it's not, we're not making wrong judgment calls. We're talking about the correct information and the correct next steps. And
that's great when you're in somebody else's office, and maybe you're talking about their drawing, and rather than them going to a computer or laptop or to print it off, you can say, actually, guys, here's my iPad.
Yeah, here it is. Let's deal with the issue in front of us.
Do it straight away.
Indeed.
So I'll download this drawing now. So it's more of a legend drawing. I'll try and find probably a better option down here. But actually, I'll click on this option. Why not? So in here, I can actually obviously zoom in, and I could, as Andrew mentioned there, you can zoom into a location of the drawing, and you can discuss any points of the drawing you want to discuss. But we have some additional tools here as well. So if I wanted to create maybe a capture app on top of this, or I want to do some markup, I have that capability within this app as well. So what I think a lot of our customers tend to do is actually, there's on the top right, I've got this pin option. If I click on that pin there, I can drag this down to, say, this area, and it's going to create a pin there. Then immediately I can access punch lists, or I can access action items and field notes, etc. I'm going to stay in punch list, or snagging, should I call it. And again, I've got exactly those same options as I showed you previously. Another thing, what is quite powerful, is the fact that I can actually add a markup in here as well. So I could simply use these options here. So I could draw a cloud, for example, maybe around that piece there. I can write some text around that. So I could just say something along the lines of, I'll just say it's a cloud, for example. I can easily drag this across the drawing. So it's all done with a fingertip. And I can draw arrows, and I can draw any other shapes and wherever I require to add to that drawing. Then once I've added those markups, I can select done, and that is going to pull that into one big process. And by that, I mean, if I save all this and I go back into new format, it's going to capture all this within punch list. Not only will it capture the photos I've taken, it's actually going to capture this snippet of the drawing with the pin, the relevant comments to that drawing, and any other extra parts I want to include to that as well.
So it's actually one of my favourite features, being able to link a photo to an exact location on a drawing.
Yeah.
I find that really useful. And then, like you say, when you go back to the desktop application, you create a report, and it's got the photo, it's got the exact location of where you're taking that photo. There's no ambiguity then in terms of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So again, it's yes, you're doing a little bit more management on site, but it's good management. I'm doing a little bit more work, but I'm providing myself and people who are going to use this information much more clarity and much more detail.
Exactly, and I can't add to that at all. That's a great description. Yeah, thank you very much. So I mean, I'll say they're really the three main apps that I'd say you guys on a day-to-day basis. We do have a project teams app, so you can actually look at your contacts through new form where you can actually access people's mobile numbers. You can call them from the app immediately if you choose to as well, and also email from there as well.
That again, just go back on another issue.
Yeah, sure.
That works really well when you're covering someone who's on holiday. You know, often you get told this company's involved, but actually I can go into the project teams app. I don't just know the company that's involved. I've got the 3 people that are involved, so I'm calling the right person. You know, again, the amount of time you lose, you know, when someone's on leave and you're urgently trying to find a piece of information, you've called a company up and they've got to ring around their office to find who's working on it. You know, it all gets very frustrating, but actually you just go straight into the app, straight to that company, straight to that individual, and you're calling them direct. You're dealing with the problem in real time.
Immediately, that is an app you use, is it?
So we do, and that's the kind of example when I would use that.
That's great.
I find it really useful then.
And also you've got your own contacts in your own phone, so you might miss those, and just as a secondary option, you can go further to the project teams app as well.
Indeed.
And then the tasks as well. So we have another app around tasks, and it's something that Andrew uses quite a lot. So we've got some good reporting functionality from there, and also you can also look at your photos.
I actually think the photos bit sort of underplayed because it's called tasks. You forget that it's actually giving you access to all your project photos.
So where's the relationship between tasks and photos? That's the it doesn't call out photos.
No, but absolutely. But it's again, we talked earlier on. I mentioned that people leave photos on their photo streams and their cameras. Part of the reason they do that is they want access to those photos at any time. Yeah. And they're worried that if they put them on the server, they're gonna forget about them and never see them ever again. Well, actually, if you use the capture app and put it back into new format, the tasks app then allows you to look at all of those photos and anybody else's photos that are taken on that project. So actually, by using the tasks app, I've now got access to more photos than I would have had if I hadn't used capture app and I hadn't, we hadn't worked as a team using all those tools. Yeah, so you've got a better relationship between why that was taken, the data behind it as well. So that's because the notes carry forward. So any notes that whoever's taken the photos put against that photo, they then appear in the tasks app. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so I mean Andrew, that was a great explanation, and I think we've really got given everyone a good insight into how these mobile apps can be used. And I think what we'll do next, I think we're going to jump into some questions that have been asked by yourself. So if I quickly just go into my demonstration page here. So if I bring up the first question here. So we've got this first question here, and it is, how do you go about engaging your teams with a new piece of technology? Okay, so for us, from how we probably initially did it to how we do it now is a little bit different. What we've worked out is if you try and centralize your training or centralize your deployment, it doesn't necessarily work. The best thing to do, we found, is we actually have a sort of power user in every office. Yeah. We bring them into a central location, discuss the new technology or the new feature we want to talk about. We do the training at that level. We even go and trial it, make sure we're all happy that it actually does what we think it does. And once we do that, we then go back, everybody goes back to their local office and deploys it locally. We find that sort of face-to-face communication is really powerful. Also, the fact they've trialed it, they've used it, they believe in it. Yeah. Rather than someone you only see once a year telling you something's fantastic and you're never quite sure whether it is or not. That sort of chain of command and that face-to-face interaction for us has been a really great way of increasing our adoption. Whether that's using Newformer or the other software that we use, we're finding that a much better way of doing it. We did try the sort of centralized approach to it all, but we found that people at the other end, when you get into a few around the detail side of it, they can't follow it. They can't quite see what you're doing. You don't realise they're not following it. It didn't work. So actually, sort of moving to this sort of champions approach is what we call it. We have a champion in each office, and we train them first. That for us has really improved our adoption rates. I think that's great because that's how. I'm sort of pleased myself, and I think most of my colleagues as well. We find that engagement with a champion is a lot easier to pass on knowledge through a company of Newformer, because obviously we can go in there, we can do professional sessions and we can sit with project teams, but if you've got somebody in the company itself that can give everyone more knowledge around the product, can enhance the knowledge base in the company, it helps us greatly. I think so. We've also done huge benefit to that. Indeed, and we've also done these little one-page guides to the apps that you just went through. We've tried to do little one-page guides that people can then take away. Doesn't necessarily. So you've got our own little in-house. Yeah, we just thought that just the things that with our QS hat on or our PM hat on, how we might want to use that app, or things we know our guys regularly don't necessarily understand, just a little one-page guide that they can then take away after that little training session as an aid memoir. And again, we find that that's been quite helpful.
That's great. So obviously you have the induction process and people join the company.
Yep.
And then after that, the knowledge base is improved by the champion.
Oh yeah, and actually this year, what I'm actually looking at doing is our induction. We're going to hopefully give to our new starters. We might actually do that as refresher training every year for our colleagues, because actually, I think people underestimate the importance of reminding people how to use certain things. If you only use a feature once or twice a year, the chances are you don't ever use it because you forget it exists, or you don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So that refresher training is actually a really important step in, getting everyone to use everything.
I like it personally because people see the interest systems themselves. They see how simple the tools are to use. Obviously, when they go away for 2 weeks, and they think, "Oh no, how was that used?" But when you go back in and show them simplicity, and they re-engage with that, it just makes it
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next question I'm going to jump onto is, when taking a photo, does it record the location of where it's taken? So it doesn't necessarily, even the app itself, take the location of where it's taken, but you can build it predefinedly. So you can build a bit of, because obviously we don't use GPS, so we're not going to say we're in this location, the photo is taken from this area. Also as well is with these other mobile apps out there, it's drawing the locations or room areas of a room. So if you can be more descriptive in where you are in a site, we find that is the easier approach, obviously relating the photo to a room location or to an area on site that's pre-populated in before. Another question here is why the mobile apps are separate instead of having one app that covers all areas. So I like to put in sort of the same context of how Apple use their mobile app. So they'll use an app for contacts, for photos, they use an app for messaging. So we kind of break up in a very similar field. So obviously for contacts, they're separated by our project team apps. For photos, we have obviously capture and snagging apps. And then again, obviously plans for scene documentation, etc. And we do have our cloud app that can help out in that scenario as well.
I think it helps. I think it's easier to use if you know that does that task. When you go into something and there's 10 choices, and you've got to go to another level and there's 10 choices, it does get really confusing. You're like, where do I look to do something? But actually, if I know, right, I'm going to that app to do that task, very straightforward.
Yeah, you're not having to sort of go into one app and then try and look for the options. It would be a drop-down list. Yeah. It just stands out immediately.
Absolutely.
And obviously, people are quite visual as well, so the app's obviously got a different logo to that. Another question here is, you mentioned a new format app. Can you tell us a little more about it? So yeah, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times in this webinar already, but that's our new format cloud app. Okay, so if you're an Office 365 user, you can use our email component of where you can actually file from the app, and you can view those emails within the app as well. So it's quite similar to our project email app, but the new cloud app has a bit of a different look and feel to it, and sometimes visually people actually prefer the visual aspect to that. Our search capability within the app as well, that can search within the content and the attachments. As well with that, you can actually search on your project files. So you can actually run a search across all your project data where it is within your folder structure. And also we can create action items. We can send files now from the cloud app, and we can also share folders from this mobile app as well. Okay. Is there any other questions there, Andy? And one good point my colleague just mentioned as well is the fact that you can access the form of cloud through basically a web browser. So you can log on to, we call it a new form of cloud. From there, you can access your My Projects list. You go in, you can access any given documents you want to. You can search on documents, and you can actually work on certain documents. So if you need to work on any Microsoft documents like Word or Excel, for example, you can download them from the form of cloud. You can work on them locally, and then you can upload them back into the system, and that is going to go directly back into your file server.
I think also we shouldn't underestimate that people do end up working offline quite a bit. You know, again, that whole working outside of the London bubble, that, you know, there are a lot of sites and areas of the country that has poor internet. And that's why, for me, the managing of document control and plans app and getting the information you want offline, that works really well. You know, whether I'm online or offline, I've got all that suite of information available to me. So whether I've got internet access and a VPN into my server or not, it actually doesn't matter. I've got a contact into that information at all times.
Yeah. So I mean, Iform Cloud doesn't use a VPN access. It goes straight into the browser and access your files, but you're probably using the cloud and possibly VPN if you need to work on certain things.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm in
It can't be used through the cloud app.
Yeah, if I'm in a cafe or I'm at home, I'll often be on VPN because I want to get into my server and I want to work in a very traditional way. But if I'm out on site and I don't have good access, then the ability with the project email app, having things saved down, or using document control and plans app, having information available to me offline is a really valuable tool because I don't then need that connection back to our server.
Exactly. I love the fact that, again, I'll say it, paperless for 5 years.
Yes, indeed.
That's an amazing term to use.
Don't give me paper.
I'll put it back into a new format. Okay, so I think that covers all of our questions. So I'll just go to our final slide. So if you have any further questions or inquiries, please contact us on projectcentre@newformer.com. Please feel free to call the number here as well. And I've got my details here. So I'm James Cook, I'm the decisions consultant. So if you want to contact me directly, you can do that through projectcentre@newformer.com. Thank you all for attending today. Thank you, Andrew. You've been great.
No problem. Thank you.
I really enjoyed your company today. Thank you very much. And have a great day, everyone. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.